of voices that we can use on a phone call. When we're doing phone calls, it's really, really important to master the art of inflection and what type of voice we do. Now, everybody has a couple of instinctive voices, but I'm going to go over a few today, like this one, the late night DJ voice, where we can use this in what situations we want to use it and which situations we don't. And you probably don't even realize that you do this. So by inflecting differently in different situations, we can control how likely we are to find success. We need to do this on purpose. Some of you do this by instinct now. By doing it on purpose, it's going to up your game. So let's talk about this one first. So this one right here, this is the late night DJ voice. This is the voice of calmness. This is the voice of soothing. This is the voice that I use when customers call in and they're upset, when they want somebody to listen to them, when they want somebody to be empathetic. So I use this voice to calm them down, to show them that it's going to be okay. So when we use that voice, when you slow down, when you lower your register for just a little, and then it's almost like a whisper, but you want to presume that you can be soothing to them, and you want to use that late night DJ voice. So people call in and they're upset that their appraisal came in low or they can't access the documents. There's a high level of anxiety in what we do. So rather than use our normal pace, which can be kind of fast-paced, kind of intense, we want to like push urgency for customers and we want to get them off the fence. When somebody calls in and they're already anxious, they're already off the fence, they've already made that decision, and in fact now it's our turn, they want us to take action, then you need to switch it up, and you can't use the voice that I'm using now. You have to use the late night DJ voice. And then you can get them to move forward. Now, some of you have this as your natural state. Like you sound like you're radio professionals already. And I'm here to tell you, that works. That people sound like, oh, that guy sounds like he's meant for phone sales. But in reality, you could speed it up a little. In fact, I would encourage you to use your playful voice, your positive playful voice. Everybody knows this guy, right? Jimmy Fallon? So this is the voice that I use generally in these videos. This is the voice that I use to sell most of the time. And it goes something like this. Like, hey, my name's Sundance Brian. I know people ask, that's my real first name. And then I look maybe at, like, later on in the conversation how old they are, or how young they are, rather. Maybe I should tell them, like, it's like the old Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, if they're my age or older, or if they're younger than I am, then I'll probably recommend something like the film festival or the channel on television. They're more likely to understand it that way. And some really old folks might understand that there's a really old car called the Plymouth Sundance from back in the day. So we've got different ways to, like, introduce ourselves, and you should probably come up with some funny way to give your name. I heard yesterday Kate said her last name is Shaver, like, how you shave your face with a razor blade. So instead of using an F, because a lot of people will try and do that, this way it's easy to remember. And so she has a playful way of giving her first name, and you could do something like that as well, and that gets you off on the right foot. People don't want to sound like it's stuffy. People want to sound like you're approachable, like you're likable. And that word likable is very, it's tossed around a lot, but we're not sure exactly what that means all the time. Everybody thinks they're likable. Like, people like me. Of course they do. You might even be using, like, my angry voice. Of course people like me. And that's not the case. When you use that voice, by the way, sometimes that's called the direct voice. This is the voice that I use when my children know, like, oh, shoot, Dad's serious right now. This is the voice I use when I say, go clean your room, brush your teeth, go to bed. That's my direct voice. And they understand, like, when I get to that voice, they're like, oh, shoot, we better not mess around with Dad anymore. But up until that point in time, if I'm using the playful voice, like, get your butt over there, get around, go ahead, move it, that kind of voice, then they know there's still a little bit of playtime, there's still a little bit of interaction, like, we're good to go. And it's confusing sometimes. If I use the playful voice for too long before I get to the direct voice, there's some confusion. Like, well, is it serious time now or not? Like, what are we supposed to do? So I've had to learn this. Now, direct voice you can use with clients, but not all the time, because most of the time it sounds gruff. It sounds too authoritative. It sounds like you're telling them what to do instead of asking what to do, and it's their house, gosh darn it, and they're likely to hang up the phone and, like, start an argument with you because it feels confrontational. So go back to this playful voice. Go back to this voice that says, hey, I want to help you with your mortgage. I'm the mortgage guy. Whatever your intro is, of course I can do that. Acknowledge, respond, pivot. I hear exactly what you're saying, Mr. Customer. Here's how we do that. And all my clients feel that same way. It's totally normal. Here's what we found out. So you can use that playful, positive voice in overcoming objections. When you should use the direct voice is when somebody sets you to do something that's maybe illegal or crosses the lines. Hey, so this is my only house. I mean, I live someplace else. Somebody rents it, but it's still my primary, right? You can use your direct voice when somebody tries to get slim shady with you, and you say, no, I cannot use it as your primary residence because you rent it out and claim it on your tax returns, client. That would be mortgage fraud. Now, it's okay to use the direct voice there because you want to be authoritative. You want to use your credentials in that fashion at that point in time. So, just to recap, let's back up just a little bit. Late night DJ voice, use with customers who are upset or a little too anxious. You need to calm them down. You need to bring them down a notch. Maybe they're so anxious they can't listen to you. And so you need to drop your tone and use this voice. Use your positive playful voice 90% of the time when selling over the phone. This is the one that's going to get you to be likable. People are going to build rapport with you, and they're going to feel like, hey, you know what? That's a really cool mortgage person. I didn't think mortgages would be fun at all, but this person kind of kept it interesting. Use your direct voice when it's a matter of crossing the line in most cases, or if somebody pushes you a little too much. Sometimes they won't respect you unless you do the direct voice. But even when you do it, only do it for less than 10% of the time. Right? So you do it, and then you pull it back, and you go back to your playful voice.